Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CX Goalkeeper podcast. Your host, Gregorio Leoni, will have smart discussion with expert, thought leader, and friends on customer experience, transformation, innovation, and leadership. I hope you will enjoy the next episode. Ladies and gentlemen, it's really a big pleasure. In collaboration with the European Customer Experience Organization, the CX Goalkeeper is performing an additional interview. And today I am really happy to have Mario Sepp from Austria together with me. Hi, Mario. How are you?
I'm fine. Hi, Gregorio. I hope you too. And hello to the audience.
If I can have half an hour of a great discussion about customer experience, and in this case about experience design and experience delivery, I am really happy. It's not only fine, but I'm really feeling well.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Mario. As usual, I kick off the discussion always in the same way. Instead of reading all what you did in the last 20 years, I ask you, Mario, could you please introduce yourself?
In a nutshell, I hope. Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Austria. I'm 51. So I started after the regular school with electronics engineering, and then went into the aviation business as an avionics, so it's an aircraft electronic. And I spent 20 years there, but I moved quickly from, let me say, dealing with technology only to dealing with people, because I realized it's much more fun to deal with people than doing with computers and stuff, even if you're working on aircraft. So I went for a couple of airlines where we did technical work. I opened up Air Alps as a CEO of the maintenance department, and it ended up then in a way with a stop in Zurich. I know where you're located at SA Technics, which then has been where I was doing the worldwide sales and after sales department. And then we have been bought during the financial crisis by a company or investment firm of Abu Dhabi, Mubadala. So I went to Abu Dhabi and did the whole strategy, product and business development for the aviation side. So I've seen the world in a way. And on a certain point, I did some studies beside. I did an executive MBA. I did a lot of other stuff. I stranded in Harvard at the Harvard Business School, and I've been there with Professor Ranji Gulati, and we did a lot of customer centricity. And this was sort of time, so let me say that the time where we started my work in Zurich and Abu Dhabi with various airlines, and then came more and more into a thing of service design and experience design. And then on a certain point, I decided to start up my own company, because I thought this was the biggest challenge. If you're working for large organizations with a lot of people, you know, the larger an organization is, the less customers you need, because you're dealing with yourself in a way. And I wanted to change that, and so I started my own business. And I think the initial thing was it's now 15 years ago when I met the CEO of EasyJet the first time, and Andy Harrison at that time. And you know, normally if you're coming from the sales side as a vendor, as an MRO, so maintenance, repair, and overhaul organization, the only thing that you're doing if you have a long contract with customers is that you are going to escalate prices. You know, everything, you know, expendables are going up, you know, raw materials are going up. So you sit down with your clients and you're talking about a price escalation in a contract. And in the first year when I met the CEO of EasyJet, he said, well, Mario, that's fine, you know, but working with us should be cheaper every year and not more expensive. And it just was a completely different point of view. And I think it, for me, was really the turning point of trying to understand how customers are seeing what you're doing. And they are right in a way, because think about the example maybe on a cruise ship. You know, if you're on a week on a cruise ship and I'm working in a restaurant, I know what kind of wine you like. I know if it's still or sparkling water, so I can sell you more. So the interaction will be with you easier, and in a way it's cheaper. So you have this star learning curve, and then you can go down. And then we changed in year 2, where we had a battle with Lufthansa Technik in losing EasyJet, that we said, well, we have to do something proactive for EasyJet. We have to understand their message that working with them should be cheaper, beside material issues. And we came up with an idea that helped them and helped us. So we kept the contract. But I think that this was, for me, really the turning point. Thinking more from the point of the customer. It's easy said, you know, we're always thinking about, you know, human beings. They're always in the center. The customer is always in the center. Sometimes I think if he's in the center, then he's in our way. But the issue is really, this was one of the turning points and my starting into all that service and experience design and customer centricity and customer experience.
Thank you, Mario, for the introduction. This is great, but you didn't mention the name of your company, and I think it's the 10th year of the business, and therefore it's a great achievement. 10 years of having an own company. Could you please share also the name of your company?
Sure, it's Gastspiel.at. So Gastspiel is it's a German word. It's like how would you say? It's like having a stand, you would say in the States. So staging something. And this is because, all the companies changed in a way, former days, they had their flagship stores where they presented more than just products. And if you look now to the various industries, you see so many showrooms, so many flagship stores all over, where the companies, even out of, boring industries, are presenting their stuff in a way where they're staging experiences. And so staging experiences with the right services on stage and behind the scenes, this is a little bit where the name of the company is coming from. And I'm more than happy with my team that we did year 10 now. Yeah, that's true.
That's a great achievement.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that also with me and during this podcast. Sure. Before we deep dive, because you already start speaking about designing experiences and then implementing experiences to keep larger contracts, we are here also thanks to the European Customer Experience Organization. You are one of the ambassador and founding member of the European Customer Experience Organization. I would say ambassador for Austria. Why do you think it makes sense to have an organization focused on Europe?
I guess it's. I had the discussion with Ricardo, our founding member, in front. I said, "What's the difference? What is a European way of doing things?" And I gave an interview just a couple of weeks ago. There is a difference, let me say, how people from Europe or Central Europe are dealing with experience, with service, for instance, because at the end, every doing or interaction should create a positive experience, which is different to, let me say, from the mindset that people in the US have. I spent a lot of time in the States, and I really remember my first time. I was in Cedar Rapids, which is not the center of the universe, so to say, but there is Rockwell Collins there, which is one of the largest suppliers of aircraft electronics. And I spent a couple of weeks for training, and it was my first visit to a restaurant. And it was not something, high class. It was just a regular diner in a way. And I started with a salad, and you start with a salad, and after three minutes, the guy passed by and said, "How are you doing with your salad?" I said, "How are you doing with salad? I'm eating it." Anyways, what should I say? And that went on, for every course, just a burger. Then how are you doing with a burger? And I realized, it's so important for them. It's part of their salary because they're living from the tips and not from the regular salary. But it's in a way a completely different approach to service at all. And you see it in Europe. If you go, I think in Europe you have the good, the bad, and the ugly. So it's a little bit more. I say it's a little bit less show, more reality, which is not always good in a way. Because you get bad experience. You have servers or you have people in stores ignoring you, but at least that's true. That's the way it is. And I think the kind of expectation of having long-term good services and a good customer experience is much higher in Europe than it's in the States. I think things changed also there. So with some of the companies, especially the internet companies, it changed. But they were more looking on wow effects in a way and impressing you with overwhelming but very aggregated friendliness, where maybe in Central Europe it might take some time, but then it will be really a more deeper understanding and, let me say, and a kind of service on a different level. So I think you have to raise more the understanding for how your behavior will affect people, employees, and customers and partners. And you don't have to do that so much in the States. They're much more open to crazy and funny things. If you look to some of the like Red Lobsters, a lot of these food chains, they're doing things where you wouldn't find any employee in Europe doing that, like with shows and stuff like that. So that's why I think it's a little bit of harder work in Europe to convince people of thinking about customer experience. And customer experience, it's not a software, it's not a tool, from a call center, something you measure an NPS, whatever it is. It's something that you really live. That's something that you can feel as a customer. It's something you can feel as a partner, B2C, B2B, regardless. It's always people to people in a way. So that's why I think it's important to maybe look the customer experience thing, all that stuff, a little bit different if you focus on Europe. But at the end, we would like to make our employees and customers happy in a way, and we would like to keep them returning to any company. So that's not different. But maybe it's a little bit more difficult in Europe than in the States.
I understand that, and it's about making employees and customer happy in order to achieve business results.
Absolutely.
Because we are in business to achieve our targets, financial targets, because it's not all the businesses are charities, and therefore it totally makes sense.
Nobody is. Never seen one. Even if they say they are not.
That's the topic for another podcast. I think the title ambassador of the European Customer Experience Organization, it's quite fancy. Let's really
say that. Sounds old-fashioned.
No, it's not old-fashioned. It sounds really good, but it's also linked to some responsibilities, some duties. What is your role in the European Customer Experience Organization?
Well, the issue is, as you said, if we're talking about Europe, you're talking about different things. I don't have to explain to you. Switzerland is completely divided in a way. So you know what I'm talking about. So I think it's the idea of ambassadors is that you not only speak the language, let me say, in your region, which is Austria. You can compare it really as a small region in Europe. But the kind of approach, how you approach leaders of various companies, how you approach the networks they are in, it's different in every country. I spent really a lot of time in more or less every European country, with 2 or 3 countries maybe missing. And it's different everywhere. So I think it's good that you speak the language there, but you also understand how business is done there, and what it needs to convince maybe some of the companies, or even might be even a non-profit company or an NGO, to think about customer experience in a different way. And that's why maybe later on we come to that, from talking about CX to doing CX, which is a big difference. And I think that's good, because if you have people from the area, so to say, maybe might be a little bit easier to approach the organizations and companies where you are, and talk to them about and convince them they should think about something in regard to customer experience on a deeper way than buying some technology and having some computer programs or NPS scores or whatever installed, which is normally the first thing they're doing.
It totally makes sense, and thank you very much, Mario, for this explanation on the European Customer Experience Organization. I think that was really the great first part. We are already warm to start discussing about designing experiences and implementing experiences. I think you mentioned something like it's from talking about customer experience to delivering customer experience. As a former consultant, I would phrase the question in another way. How can we, or how is it possible to transform all the slides that we are creating in real experiences for customers? I know it's really a broad question, but let's start really. If you have some insight, some explanation, how is it possible, would be really great.
Absolutely. And, normally as a consultant, you would say it depends. That's the typical answer of a consultant. No, but in all fairness, I think if any organization, as I say, or any company is thinking about increasing the customer experience, then I would say step A would be thinking about what is the current service situation, the current customer experience situation. And I'm not talking about, let me say, quantitative measurements now where you say, well, we know where we are in regard of kind of NPS. We know where we are in regard of feedback that we are getting, Google reviews or whatever it is. So really taking time to have a look from the outside into your organization, and starting, let me say, along the whole customer journey, so that the really end-to-end journey from I'm getting aware of that organization, of that company, and I'm using their services and products, and I have a problem, I would like to go back, stuff like that. So A, this is A, what we're doing, but B is that's really something I would propose to everybody, saying is have a kind of reality check. what is going on in your organization? What are your employees doing? What are your customers doing? Not every customer is king. That's from Gordon Selfridge, the guy who started the warehouse business in the UK. But at least every customer has the right to be wrong in dignity, so to say. But I think what is going on there? So how do your processes look like? What are you really doing on the shop floor? How is their interaction with your partners? What are your partners, let me say, doing on the last mile? We're not talking about delivery. If you think about, let me say, electronics retailer, talking about installation of electronic equipment at your home, what is going on if I have a problem? What is going on, if I'm getting an invoice and have a question to that? So have a look, into your saying, what is the status quo? Who are really your employees? What are they doing? Are you keeping all your promises? And if you have mapped that out and you're still thinking that you would like to increase your customer experience, which it normally will, because especially as soon as they see, what is going on, and we have done couples of them, then you have a reason to improve. But it's really being so open to getting a kind of mirror. What is the experience of your employees and your customers today? Why do you need that? To prioritize all the things you would like to do, but especially this will be the starting point where you are going to rise your employee and customer experience. And this is so necessary, because if you start, let me say, with let's improve these 5 things because every customer needs that or every employee needs that, then you're starting from a different level. And I think you have to be absolutely sure from where you're starting off. What are your employees are capable to do? Because this will be then the make or break factor in afterwards. As you say, as soon as you would like to implement some measurements and doing, but if they are not, let me say, on the level, they will never can stage or perform or change or do anything of these things authentic, that people say, well, something changed here. So you have to have this kind of reality check up front. I think this is really number one, because what we have seen with a lot of clients is that they're starting with a lot of quantitative insights, doing research, they're doing studies, they're sending out students, asking customers, are you happy with that? They're doing exit polls and stuff like that. But nobody is really looking into the big T, because it's a lot of work, and sometimes it's not giving you a good feeling if you see the results, but it helps tremendously to know where you are starting from and where are the priorities, let me say, along your value chain, along your customer and employee journey and your partner journey, where you set these first 3 or 4 points in an organization which will bring the real change. You cannot change everything in one turn, because no company has that possibility, not only financial-wise, but maybe financial-wise, but time-wise, and projects are going up and up. So you have to start somewhere. So point A is that you really have to measure where you are today. The next thing I think is that you have to understand that as soon if you would like to say, that's what I'm saying, from talking to doing, at the end, your employees are doing it. Your daily, the frontline stuff, your sales staff is doing it. And if you're talking about stuff, if you look to a regular company, we're not talking about always full-time employees. So you have part-time employees, you have students, just for summertime. So, but they are all employees. They are all working for your brand. So for me as a customer, I don't care, if he's a full-time equivalent or you just see them on Saturdays and Sundays in a store, for instance. They're all the same. But companies are looking different than that, because they're investing in their full-time equivalents and not so much, let me say, in their part-time workers. So a lot of these measurements, which you're gonna do then to increase customer experience, for instance, have to be staged and lift up, and really brought to life by all of them. And it's not only frontline stuff; it's backline stuff. Don't forget about your partners. So many companies are using third-party workers for installation, for delivery, for a lot of things, for putting things together at the end. It's still your brand, but somebody else is doing it, regardless if it's a kitchen, it's furniture, it's electronics, whatever it is. So you're using a lot of third-party workers. You have to integrate them in your plan, in your initiative about optimizing customer experience. And I think that's the basis. And we have a lot of discussions at that step, because the project is getting big immediately. But that's the way it is. If you really would like to increase full-fledged your customer experience, then you have to think about all the touch points you have. You have to think about an end-to-end journey, and you have to think about all the stakeholders, so to say, beside, let me say, the customers, which are really bringing the money. by your employees and your partners and your part-time employees and your part-time partners and apprentices and all this stuff. And you have to integrate them, let me say, in the optimization of your servicing. That's step one.
Thank you. And but step one is it's really a big one, and I would have already now 200 questions. I tried to summarize them in 2 or 3. The first question I would like to ask is also based on your experience. If you put in front of these companies and in particular of top management this mirror, and you show what it's not really working properly, how are they reacting? Are they understanding that there is an issue, or are they always skipping with, oh, yes, this is something customer experience, let's do something different?
I understand where you're coming from. Well, the issue is it has to be, well, let me say, the challenge, and that's why it's not so easy, and that's why maybe we are doing it in a special way. You have to do it on our own. So if we do reality checks at Gastspiel, there's always one guy, also girls here, doing the reality check, or is leading in the reality check, and it's also then doing, let me say, the presentation with the C-level, because you really have to do it on yourself. So you have to really dig deep into it. You have to try to understand. You have to work your way along, let me say, especially a customer journey way, so that they can really understand where you're coming from, where does it start for the customer, where does it end, so to say, for the customer, who is involved in every step. So you have to really break that up so that you have a kind of line where you say, okay, the checkers are going along the customer journey. You have to come up with repetitive things. So don't put out anything super exciting, say this is a one-time thing. So it must be something which is happening, let me say, in more than one store, for instance, so to say. So you really have to come up with truth. You have to really work open with the employer. So a reality check is not mystery shopping. Employees know who you are and what you're doing, and they appreciate it very much, because they say, well, now it's the day that somebody's coming in and is showing our management what we have to do with our customers day to day. Because normally, regardless of what company, your boss is coming in and saying is, get that, clean that up, clean that tidy, pricing must be up. How do you look like? Nobody is really having the time, let me say, or even the energy or the empathy maybe to really understand what is going on between the individuals. So if you tell management, you have to tell them, take one day off. So we're normally doing these result workshops. So one day, because it's intensive. You spend, last check I spent more than 400 hours in various stores, working on various, from service, from at a cashier, giving out all the stuff and the stuff. You have to really to understand. So you have to work along. What we are doing are work alongs. It's not like observation with somebody standing in the back, trying to understand what we're doing. So you have to do it. You have to talk to customers embedded, let me say, in the interaction. So it doesn't help so much that you ask customers, what do you think about? Is it a good service? Is it a bad service? So if you have done it 50, 100 times, and during the doing, you're talking to them, you understand, what the issues are. And that's nothing new. Think about the hospitality industry, let me say, at least 30 years ago, where the owners of the hotel still talked to the guests in a way. Today, it's seldom. You see young girls or boys, at the reception or and front staff desk. They say, yeah, we'll pass it on. But the owners are seldomly, besides some of the family hotels, are talking to their guests. So you have to understand. Sleep in one of your own rooms. Then you realize, what is the guest experience if you're coming to the hotel. Which hotel owner ever slept in one of his own rooms? That's a strange thing. So you really have to show them what is going on. The next thing is no finger pointing. It doesn't help. That's the situation it is. That's the service reality. So they are still making money, so something must be good. At least the products are good, or the price is right. I don't know, but don't blame them, and don't try to interpret what is good or bad. Because as soon as you show them, and we're using every medium, we're talking, we're showing some slides, we're showing videos, we're showing audio, we're giving audio. So in any format, and it will happen automatically that they are going to judge the service on their own side. The next thing is what we realize is that as soon as you show something and as you talk about something, they're trying to explain the why. And I think, forget about the why. It's happening now since years. Don't explain me why it is happening. So just sit back, have the glasses of the customer, of the employee, and just enjoy, so to say. But that's the way it is. And just get a feeling of what is going on. And we are not doing turnaround management, so they are not, let me say, so they're still making money in a way. Yeah? But they have to realize what is going on. Very often they say, we knew already that something is not that positive, but we were not been aware how large it is in the meantime. And the next thing is it's not only the organization. So the customers changed completely. If you and that's not only in retail. We're doing also a lot of things in the health area. So I think so 15 years ago, if you're visiting a doctor and he said it's A or B, you said, okay, thank you, it's A or B. Today, since Google, everybody's Dr. Google. So if he's saying, well, you should do this kind of treatment, he's saying, nah, but I read about it, it's not that good. Shouldn't we do something else? Then who's the doctor in a way, And they are arguing about money, about prices, even, let me say, not only at the dentist, but at every doctor. And the same thing is if you go to retail, for instance, a lot of people know a lot of things, it's just a little bit. But if you think about a store for MediaMarkt, for instance, they have more than 50,000 products in the store. And if you go to the electronics department where you find laptops and stuff like that, every laptop, is overdue since after 3 or 4 weeks because there's a new model. So how could they know every detail? It's impossible. So I think that the good thing is that you have to be more like and this is where they are going, like a navigator for the customers to try to understand what they really need. It's not just, I need a product. They are needing trying to look for a solution for their challenge in a way. That might be a laptop, that might be something completely different in a way. So taking more time to understand what the needs are. So the issue is, I think if you show what is going on, any service reality, regardless of the industry, number one is management have to realize that will take time. So they have to take one day off. It's not a management summary on 2 slides, what are the biggest issues. We're not doing that. That doesn't make any sense at all. You have to really feel and see and have a feeling what is really going on. Because they have so many reports, what is good, what is bad, big customers are writing them a letter, everything is bad or everything is good. They're always seeing just the peaks, to the positive, to the negative on the C-level side. So they have to take time. They have to really take the deep dive with you. They have to be open for that. No finger pointing. Let me say, judge what they are seeing afterwards, and bring them to the point where kind of summary saying, well, let's have a look. You've seen that all, but you've seen there are some stages or some touch points, let me say, on the journey where we should maybe put our focus on and leave the other stuff beside. Because typically in any company or in any organization, you're getting 50 tasks every year, but no task will be ever removed. So it's piling up like that. So, and you can try to work out together in a kind of strategy where you're saying, well, let's focus on that. Leave some other stuff beside. You don't have the employees for that. You don't have maybe the money or the time for that. Let's concentrate on these 2-3 things, which are the moment of truth or the biggest pain points or whatever it is. Try to really make them great. And then you're going to realize that this is capable for your employees if we then co-creatively optimize the system. And then you can stage. You cannot change from one day to another completely. This will never happen. And I think that's one of the important points. Sorry for my long answers, but you see, I'm living for that.
Yeah, I know, and we are feeling the passion that you have for the
absolutely.
topic. I have the time, perhaps, for one of the last questions. You mentioned that it's something. The question is, you are saying if you want to improve customer experience, then it will be big quite quickly. And you already mentioned in your previous answer that you need to focus on some top priorities. Which criteria do you use to prioritizing or to help your customers prioritizing which pain points they need to focus on first?
That's a good question. I think the number one is, what is the biggest pain points for the employees? Because at the end, if you're not just talking about, let me say, an online store, and even there, you have people working behind, real people working behind. But the thing is, where are your employees struggling the most? Because this is something that I feel as a customer is the most. All the easy things, or let me say the solar alarm things, they're fine, more or less. Then maybe the product is the issue or the price is the issue. That's fine, or the availability is the issue. But first thing is where we see where your employees of any organization are struggling most. And typically on these points is where the customers are struggling most. It's the same point normally. It's identically. I've seen it thousands of them, and normally it's almost the same point. The issue is that I think a lot of things changed during the last 10 or 15 years, even on the employee side. Because, if you're going, let me say, home, let me say, after your work, or you're enjoying your weekend, you're using Netflix, Amazon, you're using any kitchen aids, which with a lot of software inside, and they all try to understand you, you employ in that moment as a customer and would like to make your life easier. And then it's Monday morning, and then you're going to your company, and nobody cares at all. So in a way, all that is gone. All that the systems are focused on you is gone. So you're starting fresh. So, and then there are some points where you have your challenge. A lot of tasks coming together, maybe to one department. A lot of customers are coming on peak level, stuff like that. So we are looking really, are there any peaks in amount of people there, amount of complaints, in amount of products or services which have to be done on a certain time. So where are, let me say, these points which are the most how to explain that? Maybe the most really the moments of truth in a way, where I as a customer say, yeah, absolutely, yeah, with the it's right, maybe with the biggest impact in the decision on, should I go on with that company or should I change to a different one? Because some of the products, okay, you can buy here or there. It's like coffee, you can buy it here and there. With computers, you can buy them. Cars, it's not an issue anymore. So clothing, stuff like that. So I think you have to find these moments of truth, and they are different in a lot of companies. Maybe it's if you're talking about the financing business, for instance, it's not the part of how does the contract look like at the end. It's really the understanding of the situation of, let's say, of the client is, why does he need the money? How can he ever come at it? Giving him the feeling that he's at the right spot. All the rest you can do afterwards. So you have to really define what are the moments of truth. Is it really, let me say, that you need a lot of explanation upwards because maybe you're a pro. If you're buying an e-bike, for instance, so many professionals are buying an e-bike. So it's maybe availability is for them. Having the product immediately is the decision maker, not about having explanations about, it's carbon and stuff like that. They already know maybe. So maybe you have to focus on, it will be available or it will be made available for you in the next 2 days, whatever it is. So you really have to understand, and this is really depending on every organization or company, what are the moments of truth at the customer journey which will be differentiating you from your competitors? And normally these are always the challenging points. It's really that's the way it is, because it's and you see it so often that companies, let me say, in reacting on that with doing something on pricing side or having any point of sales material or fancy advertisement or stuff like that. So the prioritization is what is in a way the biggest thing for your brand, the biggest thing for your purpose, where are your biggest differentiators on the customer journey side or on the value chain side? Which are the moments of truth? And where are the biggest problem points for your employees? And normally these are the same problem points than for your customers. So we are trying to start with that. It's different with every company. If you're in the travel industry, for instance, and you're having booking where you say, I'm booking my holidays 6 weeks or 6 months in advance, these moments of truth are different than if you're going to any retail store and buying something, or if you're going to the next healthcare or in any other industry. So you really have to define them. And this is a lot to do with your brand, with your purpose, and the state of your employees and the availability of your working force, which is a challenge, especially after the pandemic, at least in Central Europe.
Thank you very much, Mario. I think it was really a great answer. We are going to the last part of this podcast, the last 3 questions. The first one is there a book that you would like to suggest to the audience that helped you, for example, during your career?
Is there a good book? There are a couple of good books. I think it's Eric Ries, The Lean Startup. This is really something I learned a lot, because maybe that's also a different thing if you're talking about the difference between people from the States or other countries in Europe. If you would like to start your own company and you're coming from large organizations, the first thing you're thinking about is business plans and stuff like that. The only thing you can look into the future are maybe your costs in a way. But if you're a startup with a special service that we are like we are delivering, is really hard to predict. What your revenue will be. But the book of Eric Ries, The Lean Startup, is thinking about what will be your minimal viable product. Seeing it from a different point of view. Then I have to say, if you think about doing service design on your own, this is service design thinking and this is service design doing. I at least in book part 2, I gave you a small portion from my knowledge to part 2. It's from Marc Stickdorn. Really helpful. A lot of doing stuff. You can really see tools and a lot of practical cases where you can learn from how you do. So I think these two, trying to think about, let me say, coming up with a new product or with your own company is one thing, and working on service and experience design, I would say this is design thinking and this is design doing are really good books you can really work with.
Thank you very much. And
Welcome.
if somebody would like to contact you, what's the best way?
Anyway, so I'm on LinkedIn. You can write me an email. It's mario.sapp@gastspiel.at, or you just visit our website at gastspiel.at, and you will find all the contacts that you need. Just Google myself. You will even find my cell phone number there. So it's just give me a ring. We're open.
Thank you very much, Mario. And also, if you want to contact Mario, you can use also the European Customer Experience Organization platform. Mario is also there and is happy to answer to your questions. The real last question is the Mario's Golden Nugget. It's something that we discussed or something new that you would like to leave to the audience.
Ooh, golden nugget. It's like the silver bullet. I think it's a simple thing. For me, it's people have to understand, or organizations have to understand that people, and if you're talking about customers, we're talking about people. If you talk markets, you're talking about people. I think people are always looking for companies who are just keeping their promises. And this is seldomly enough. And what does it mean? In a way, I think people are not looking for wow moments, for delightments or whatever. They are looking for durability. They're looking for companies which will be there on the long run. They're just keeping their promises. And the good thing is that as a company, you can raise the bar how you would like to raise it. If what you're going to promise is up to you. But the good thing is, or the important thing is, you have to keep your promises. So what I say is people are looking for companies who are just keeping their promises. And it's more than enough. Forget about delightment and wow effects and everything. Nobody can do it on the long run, even Walt Disney is really tackling some of the issues by long, and they founded it. But and not every company is Disney. So I think just keep your promises, and that's the best thing. Set the right promises and just keep them.
Thank you very much, Mario.
You're welcome.
I am not commenting Mario's golden nugget because it was your own golden nugget. The last thing that I want to say is thank you very much for your time, Mario.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you very much also to the European Customer Experience Organization to making this possible, interviewing ambassadors from this outstanding organization. And also to the audience, I hope that you enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. It was really a good one. We really feel the passion of Mario about customer experience and design. And therefore, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. Grazie mille. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Grazie mille. Ci vediamo. Ciao.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share the word of mouth, subscribe it, share it. Until the next episode, please don't forget, we are not in a B2B or B2C business, we are in a human-to-human environment. Thank you!